All right, it's 5:30 and we're going to go ahead and get started. I am Dr. Brown, the lead counselor at Clements High School, and my team and I are here to present to you the 2025-2026 course selections, instructions for our rising 10th and 12th graders. So these are the things that we're going to talk about: graduation requirements, grading scale, GPA, our electives and special programs, and then finish up with our course selection timeline and a walk through our counselor website. Before I introduce my amazing team, let me let you know that we're going to have a Q&A session at the very end of this session. So if you would just hold your questions, maybe jot them down on something, and then at the end of the presentation, we'll open up the chat so that you guys can ask your questions and we'll answer them at that time. So if you can't see the faces of my team, here are their pictures, and you can find your student's last name and you'll see who your student's counselor is: Miss Fawcett, Miss Levy, Miss Branch, Mrs. Seymour Gibson, Miss Drake, and myself. All right, Miss Branch.
Good afternoon. We're going to just jump right in there. And like she said, if you have questions, just hold those because we may answer them by the end of our presentation. We're going to start off by just talking about the two different plans we do have available that we attempt to begin with, which is, of course, here at Clements High School, we start with our distinguished plan, level of achievement with 26 credits, as well as a foundation and endorsement with the 26. And just so you can kind of see the difference, of course, we make sure that we'd like all students to have those 4 English credits, 4 math credits, 4 science, as well as 3 social studies. There may be a difference in the fact that if we do the foundation endorsement, you don't have the Algebra 2. And with the distinguished, we make sure that we usually get that 4th science, social studies, just in case we need that to make sure, number one, that we are able to get our entire 4x4 if we need multidisciplinary, as well as to make sure that our students get all the necessary covered areas. So just if you'll just look at the 2 different choices there, the big difference is Algebra 2 is required for the distinguished diploma. And that's where we start here at Clements. All right, graduation requirements. There are 26 credits according to the graduation plan. They have 5 end of course exams. You have your English 1, English 2, Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History. Just in your freshman year, at the end of this year, your students will have that English 1, Algebra 1, and Biology. And then in the sophomore year, they do the English 2 at the end of the year. And then that junior year, they do the U.S. history, and they call them EOCs, end of course. And we're striving to complete our endorsement, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But that is the goal, that all students complete their endorsements before they leave. We'll talk about that. Here at Fort Bend ISD, we have a GPA scale. You start with the on-level classes, which have no additional weight. You can go over to your AAC courses, which you get an additional 5 points. And then an advanced placement, the AP, you add an additional 10 points to your weight. There's a weighted and there's an unweighted. Your unweighted is what will go on report cards. That's the grade you actually receive for that class. When you add the extra points, you weight it, and that's what will go on your what we call GPA, which is your grade point average. And I'm sure you guys have all seen this, and this is just an example of it. An example of if you're on level, you get 86, you get 86 points on your GPA. If you do an AP class, you add an additional 10 points. So although it's on your report card at 94, when you get your grade points, you get 104 because that was the additional 10, and so on. Those are just examples of What you get on your report card on the left and on the right is what you would get as far as grade point averages. With our endorsements, we have a total of 5 endorsements that you can select through STEM, business and industry, public services, art and humanities, and multidisciplinary studies. And then underneath are the pathways. So you may have some of those interests under the pathways, and that's how you'll know what you'll get your endorsement in. Our goal is for all of our students to be completers. So that means they selected endorsement, which they should have this year, and we want them to complete out those 4 years and get the endorsement in that area.
Warren.
There is a, you
Yep,
got that?
I can
Mr.
do it, Miss
Warren.
Branch.
I'm
Yes, ma'am.
sorry.
Okay,
That's okay.
that's okay.
So this is for all grade levels. We'll talk about specifically for rising seniors, so our current juniors, about a new initiative that Fort Bend ISD has passed when it comes to course selection. But what college, career, and military readiness is, it's a TEA standard that just so students that high school prepares them for going to college, a 4 year, a 2 year, going into a career or a job field, which we'll talk about the recenter here soon, or just being military ready. And so just proving they have work, job ready skills to move on once they finish their 4 year high school career. And at the bottom of this graphic, you can see different areas where students can meet what's called a CCMR indicator. And so we'll discuss several of these this evening. This is something that you just need to be mindful of, parents, as you're working with your students through the course selection process. Many of our students will take AP level courses. And so at the end of an AP course, there is an AP test. So you can see right there, students who score 3 or higher can meet the distinction. The ACT, SAT, you can see the minimum scores there on the graphic to meet one of those indicators. Again, you only need to meet one of these indicators to be CCMR ready. The TSI A2, a lot of our current seniors, so those that are on this call are taking that. It may be called AccuPlacer. You may be getting emails from Raven Hollins Crowder about these, who is our CCRA. We'll talk more about the TSI in depth throughout the spring through emails and different intentional meetings. And then dual credit / on-ramps. This is a new push. So dual credit senior year through English, or the on-ramps courses, which we will talk more about in this meeting. Students who pass the college side of an on-ramps course would meet a CCMR indicator. And then last but not least, the CTE. So those REASE courses and those IB degrees. And then any student who meets a CCMR indicator will get a graduation cord, will get a CCMR graduation cord. So the next slide is just for rising seniors. This is fresh off the press. This will have a big impact on those juniors going to be seniors who want off campus or want office aid. It is related to those CCMR indicators we just discussed. This PowerPoint presentation is being recorded. We'll have it uploaded so you can review those indicators at length, and we'll have opportunities where we can ask questions, which you can see on the slide. But in order for a rising senior to schedule an off-campus or office aid, you have to have met at least one of those CCMR indicators. Again, those are the indicators we just discussed. This is a Fort Bend ISD requirement. So all campuses across the district, this is the expectation that all our students are. We want them to be prepared for college, career, military readiness. This is just one other way to kind of push them in the right direction to meeting one of these indicators. The counselors, so these wonderful ladies on here this evening, they're going to be visiting your students in their English classes next week, and they're going to be providing some more in-depth conversations as it relates to the course selection process, also with off-campus being a part of that course selection process. And parents, if you have questions, this is just another reminder, we have the parent virtual office hours, which we'll refer to at the end of this presentation. There's 4 different opportunities for you to log in virtually during your lunch, and you can ask one-on-one questions with our counseling team.
Okay, Miss Levy.
Okay. So the next slide. So with the electives, the great thing is with this software, School Links that we are utilizing, once the student pick their endorsement, it will drive the courses for you. So it will help the students stay within their pathway in the endorsement. So if you look at our electives in the schooling software, it will populate for you. So they will be able to easily find the science electives, the social studies, our CTE pathways, public service, academic programs, and fine arts. There's also in Schooling's course selection, and you can find all of these electives on our websites. And most often, your students are very eager and they know the electives already. The Reese Center. So we have the Reese Experience Night. The date is January 28th, 2025, 5:30 to 7:30. They also will be doing informational sessions. There's a QR code to the Reese website that will show all of the wonderful programs that they offer. Also, if you go to our website, you can go directly to the Reese Center and the applications are actually open.
And I want to add that we do have a representative from the Reese Center on the meeting with us, so please feel free to ask questions at the end of the meeting. She's here to answer those questions.
On-Ramps. So On-Ramps is a wonderful dual enrollment program where we partner with UT Austin and the student can earn high school credit and college credit if they choose. So that's the beautiful part. If the student is satisfied with their college grade, they will be able to select if they would like that on their transcript. There is no AP exam required. So if the student is satisfied with their college credit, they will earn the college credit. There's no cost, it's free. So the student will be able to get the high school credit and the college equivalent for on-ramps. So these are the on-ramps courses that we have. And like we said, all of this information is on our website and built into School Links. So if your student wants to select the on-ramps course, it will show these courses as an option. So we have biology, chemistry 1, chemistry 2, physics 1 and 2, college algebra, pre-cal, stats, economics, and U.S. history. So for dual credit, what they can do is also get high school and the college credit will be provided through Houston Community College. With this program, the college credit will begin on the first day of class. There is no AP exam required for this. The requirements is that you must be in grades 10 through 12. You must meet all the prereqs for that particular classes. You must complete the college application through Houston Community Colleges. And right now, we're currently offering English 4 dual credit, which is equivalent to English 1301 and 1302 for college credit.
All right, Miss Drake, you're up.
I am. So first of all, I just want to acknowledge this is a lot of information, so totally understand. So go ahead and take a deep breath for me. So basically at Clements High School, we have a lot of courses to choose from, a lot of potential programs. And really right now, I think kind of the big push and the big message we want to send out is yes, we want our kids to do a lot and there are a lot of options, but we also want to make sure that we're choosing our courses carefully. For those of you that are into statistics, we had, I believe, 60 some odd students drop levels from biology AAC to on-level biology. We have had students enrolled in those courses only to request a level down. So just as like a fair warning for now, after the course verification period in March, which I believe is March 4th through 7th or something like that. I don't remember the exact dates. I know it's on another slide. But after that date, we will not be making schedule changes, just schedule corrections, as in now is the time to have those conversations about whether or not your child wants to take those courses. And we'll kind of talk about the policy that I just mentioned in a moment. But I think we all can speak for our own alpha splits when we say that we've had students like, hey, I thought about it over the summer. But unfortunately, after that March deadline, we are not going to be able to make those changes. So those conversations about, can you handle the workload? Can you factor in your extracurriculars? Especially now our kids have had at least 1 year of high school. They kind of know what those courses look like, those advanced level courses, or those electives that they're choosing, what they entail. So just take a moment to reflect on whether you have the time and resources to dedicate to that course. It is okay not to take AAC everything, but at the same time, if you want to, that's great. Just make sure that you are having those conversations now rather than later, because after March, we will not be able to make those changes. And if you don't mind going to the next slide, I can show you what our policies are. This is a district policy where we have to take into account the master schedule as well. So what we mean by schedule corrections is just, like if we accidentally make an oopsie and, put a student in English 3 who has already taken English 3. Those are the kinds of things that we will be able to change after the March deadline, the March verification period, excuse me. So we just are really emphasizing having those discussions now. And I know it's January, almost February. We're having those conversations about something that's going to start in August, but now is the time to have those conversations. Just because this is a district policy. So, after that verification into in March, we will not be able to make changes. We will not be able to move you from one elective to another, or, unfortunately, hey, I thought about it. I don't want to take biology AAC anymore. You will actually have to stay in that class for at least 3 weeks. Which brings me to my next point, actually. So guidelines for exiting an AAC or AP level course. Again, district policy. You must remain in the AAC or AP course for the first 3 weeks of school. Level downs will be considered in the following circumstances. So if you have a 75 or below in the course, and if you've met your teacher to create a plan for success. So we are also, again, the emphasis on choosing our courses carefully this school year, just because we want to make sure that we're not overcommitting, not taking into account the things that we want to do in school, extracurricular stuff like that. So just please have those conversations now rather than several months from now when we cannot make these changes.
Miss
So here
Seymour
we
Gibson. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I didn't know if you wanted me to say anything or not, so we'll just leave it there.
Good evening. So this is a sample 4-year plan for freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And as you look at it, you may see that your student may not be exactly on this plan. They may have taken a course already and moved on to the next one. But this is an example of a sample high school plan. So this is just for the students that are identified as gifted and talented. If you are identified as gifted and talented in math and science, you must take those higher level courses. For example, with math and science, it would be AAC, Algebra 1 AAC, Biology AAC, and so on. For ELA and social studies would be English 9 AAC, World Geo AAC, or AP courses. But it has to be the higher level courses in order to remain identified as a GT student. All ninth grade students are required to do a year-long project. But keep in mind, we're not saying that your student has to take it if your student does not feel ready to take it, or that's not their strong subject anymore, because they could have been identified in elementary school. The student has the option to furlough for the school year. We have furlough forms on our website, the county website. So if you think that your child was going to furlough because they're not taking a math AAC course and they're identified at math AAC or identified in math and science, then you can go ahead and fill that furlough form out. I am Miss Seymour Gibson. I am the GT counselor. So I would be the person that would have the form for you. And if you have any questions, you can also email me as well, and you'll find my information on the website. If you have to furlough for 2 years in a row, then the student does have to exit from the program. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean much in terms of classes because the students can still take the same classes that they would take. All students can take AAC courses and AP courses if they feel that they are ready for them. So it's just an identification that we have in Skyward for you, but it doesn't hinder you. It doesn't affect college applications or anything like that. So this is just kind of inputting. We're leaving this on for you to see. We're not going to go through it step by step, but this is if you are inputting your courses in. We have a link for that on our website again, because there was a webinar for parents. And this is the step-by-step that you can look at as well. You can look at the webinar on the council's website and see how your child can input their courses for this next school year.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Mrs. Seymour Gibson can share her screen and kind of walk you through our website, our counselor's page rather, and she's going to show you where you can find. We've done our best to put everything in one space so that you don't have to go looking for things. I'm sorry, Miss Seymour Gibson. I started talking and forgot to hit the button.
Okay.
All right, your turn.
Am I sharing?
You are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want to take you through the website from the Fort Bend ISD website. This is the easiest place to go. You can see where it says Our Schools. You go to Clements High School. And this is our Clements High School website. You just go under Students and Parents, the counseling section. And this is all of our counseling information. You can explore this on your own. For now, we're going to talk about course selections for the school year. You can go here and look at all this information and helpful videos and links of the things we've discussed that you can go back on your own and look at on our site.
Okay. Is that it? You want to
That's
stop
it.
sharing? Okay, you want to stop sharing so I can come back?
Okay.
All right, so we're back to our presentation. So once your students submit their courses, they're going to go into School Links. They will complete a career plan, not a career, but a course planner, and we will walk them. We're going to meet your students next week in their English classes. So we will walk them through the entire process. We also, I don't know how many of you were able to attend the district's webinar where they gave instructions on how, and they had someone there to walk you through the process as well. So we have that on our website in case you want to refresh your course on that. So back to the job forms. With the job forms, your students will complete their course planner, but we're asking them to complete the job form when really the job form just tells, they get a chance to tell us what they chose. That way, if something happens and a course gets knocked out or what have you, we'll have this to go back on. So with this is going to be posted on our webpage as well, and in this it'll still be in this PowerPoint. If there's a course that your student wants to sign up for, let's talk about maybe you have a student that took English 1 in 8th grade, and the system is not going to allow them to register for English 2 because it's grade specific, or there may be an elective where the student, it's not showing that the student has met the prerequisites, but you're presently sitting in the prereq course. Use our special course job form to register for that class. If you're not allowed to select it under the course planner, then you're going to have to use this form to let us know exactly what it is that your student needs to take. And then there's a space for you to say, well, he's presently in the prereq right now, so then we'll know to go ahead and put him in. We're going to check it anyway. Parent verification job form. During the parent verification week, and I think it's the week of March 3rd, I think that's the week it is. If there's something, you go in, and this is going to be done in Skyward. So once you go into Skyward and you see the courses that your student has selected and I'm not really I don't think he's going to do well in this AP course, so let me go ahead and choose another one. You can't choose it in Skyward, but we have a jot form for you to go in and make the change or make the request for us to make the change. Because the last day of the parent verification, I want to say is March 7th. Well, you know what? I don't have to say, let's go to it. Here we go. After March the 7th, there will be no changes in your in the student schedule. So that's why Ms. Drake was explaining, please have these conversations with your children right now. Think about all their, what's going on at home, their chores, what's going on at church, what happens in the community, their extracurricular activities. Because one of the biggest concerns we get from students is that I don't have enough time. There's not enough time in my day to finish all this, or I'm up late at night because I have other homework and I had band rehearsal or what have you. So make sure you're having these conversations before March the 7th, because after that, we will not be able to make any changes. And that's a district policy, as Ms. Drake said. So this is the course selection timeline. Right now, Monday, School Links is going to open for course requests. This is when we will meet with your students in their English class. February 17th through the 28th, there's nothing needed from you. We're going to go in, clean up, make sure the students have chosen 7 classes. Please encourage your students to choose at least 3 alternate classes. Classes fill up sometimes, and then we have to go and pick something else. And if they don't give us an alternate class, they're stuck with whatever their counselor chooses. And there's no schedule, there's no changes from that. If your student fails to complete this process, and your counselor will have to make the schedule again, there is no changing. So make sure your student is following the rules and make sure you are paying attention to the dates. All right. After March the 7th and we do our second cleanup, that's when we start building the master schedule. And once we start building the schedule, that's when we realize how many teachers we need for each subject, how many sections we need. And if we have 100 kids come back later and say, I want to change my mind, we may have to get rid of teachers. I don't know if that's, how that works, but we need you to be absolutely positively sure by March the 7th. All right, let's see. Let me go back.
And I want to add something, Dr. Brown. So all those deadlines that we shared, you'll receive a Blackboard message, which is a mass email from me with very descriptive information on what to do. So like Monday, January 27th, I'll be sending an email out to all 9th, 10th, 11th grade parents and students with links, hyperlinks, all those things to provide additional resources for all of you.
All right. So we're also going to have office hours. We did this, we tried it last year, and parents seemed to really, really appreciate it. And so between the hours of 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. on February 3rd and 4th, also February 10th and 11th, we will meet you on Teams. If you have any questions or concerns about your students' course selections, you may have questions about something, that we talked about tonight, and the question may not arise until later, but you'll have this time to pop in, ask your question, and we'll be there to answer it. I think that's pretty much it. If we want to go ahead and open the chat for questions. Are you opening the chat, Mr. Warren? Who's doing it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
The chat, parents, the chat has been opened. So if you go into the Teams chat, you can input your questions.
They're coming.
So the question says, how would the scheduling work if the student chooses an elective course being taught at James Reese Center? Will the student need to take some core classes at the JR Center as well, morning or afternoon block? How will the grading work? So I think we have our CTE person here.
Maybe she's not on yet.
Okay, I thought I saw her log in.
I thought I did too.
Okay, well, how it works and if she comes in, you can just unmute. But it really depends on the program. With the Recenter, some programs, such as like cosmetology and automotive, they have 3 hour schedules. So what we do is we work very well with the James Reese Center, and we they'll let us know which pathway courses. So of course the pathway courses will be at Reese, and typically a core class will be at Reese depending on the program. So some programs they take two core classes, some programs only have room for one core class at the Reese Center. The morning or afternoon will be selected by the Reese Center, and they will let us know the morning or the afternoon. There's transportation, so when you select when a student do the application, they can select if they will need our transportation, or if they will elect to drive over there. The grading, they share the same grading scale as us, and the same 9 weeks, and the same semesters. But the Reese Center, to get into the detail of the pathway, you can go to their website and you'll be able to see the exact classes that they will need to fulfill the certification or the program in the pathway.
Okay.
So the next question was, how can we access the presentation after today? It will be on the council's website. So the website that I showed you all, it will be uploaded there.
Dr. Valenzuela is here. She asked in the chat if she could be unmuted. I didn't know if she had anything to add to the initial question about the recenter. Is there a way to unmute her?
I did. I'm unmuted. Thank you. This is Dr. Valenzuela. I'm the counselor over at Reese, and everything that was mentioned is correct. Basically, students do whenever a student does apply, if there's any special scheduling circumstances, for example, let's say they have athletics in the afternoon, then on when they apply, they would say, I have special scheduling circumstances. I would really need to attend Reese in the morning. And we try to honor that as much as possible, of course, based on the master schedule. Depending on whether students are going to the morning cohort or in the afternoon cohort, it depends. Students that go to the morning cohort have to take 3 periods at Reese. Students in the afternoon have to take 4 periods. So a student may have to take 1 core course or 2 core courses depending on whether they are in the morning or the afternoon. And so we work as much as we can with our home campus counselors, with our wonderful Clements High School counselors. I work with them to try and get the schedules just right so that we can accommodate for any advanced classes, any scheduling conflicts, or anything like that.
All right, thank you.
I saw a few questions about on-ramps and how that's different from AP, and does it help prepare for an AP exam? Do you mind if I answer that one?
Go.
All right, awesome. So basically, with on-ramps, they do not have to take an AP exam. AP or the on-ramps course is in partnership with the University of Texas at Austin, hook 'em horns. So they are actually taking a class through the University of Texas. And so if they choose to accept that college credit, they will have credit for US History 1301 and 1302. So they don't have to take the AP exam. They are welcome to. If they choose not to accept the credit or they're not sure they want to, that's totally fine. They would just sign up for the AP exam with me. I am the AP coordinator on our campus. But yeah, so they do get that credit if they choose. With the AP class, they do have to take the AP exam in order to get credit. So on ramps, they can elect to or not to have that course added to their college transcript. And with an AP exam, they would AP class, they would have to take that exam. They do not have to do that with on ramps to get the credit. And I actually did see another question about is our on-ramp courses recognized by universities in Texas, outside of Texas? So it is a University of Texas course. So in-state should be fine. I can't promise about outside of Texas. So East Coast universities, that would be a decision for the university. So that would be a question for them, to be perfectly honest, but I would hope that the chances are good, just because it is a pretty universal US history class if you're taking US history, college algebra, whatever you're taking. So hopefully that answers a couple of the questions we've had about on-ramps.
And then
Okay.
can I
So
take one of the questions? It's about
Yes.
AP psychology. And so what do you pair with that? Well, so AP psychology is paired already with a course called AAC Research Methods. I don't, counselors, you can help me for the specific coding, but AP psychology is a semester course, but it is paired, and School Links will automatically pair it with the appropriate course. So it is a year-long course. So you can't take AP psychology alongside another semester course. It is a year-long course, and School Links will create the co-requisite. I believe it's called Research Methods, AAC Research Methods. And so I saw that question a couple times about what to take with AP psychology or not. It's actually a year-long course with 2 different course titles.
All right, I see a question here. Does Clements allow campus PE, like off-campus PE for ice skating? Actually, we do have off-campus PE. There's an application that you have to complete and be approved by the district. And I can't, can any of you other counselors think of her name? I can't think of her name. But there
LaDonna
is a,
Green.
huh?
Her name is LaDonna Green, the
So you can,
coordinator for off-campus P.
so you can contact her. And she can get you to the application, but it has to be approved by the district, but yes, it is offered. Okay.
So I saw a question, where can I find a course selection guide? I'm going to share my screen again, if I may. This is back to the Clements High School website. If you go here again under course selection, when you go under helpful videos and links, this is where you find all of that information. This is the webinar that was done earlier from the district. This is the FBISD course selection guide right here. So if you click on here, it will take you to the course selection guide, which is completely online now. So you can go through here and see a lot of helpful things here. Let's see if it'll take me back, come out of here. You can continue to go down here, onboarding for School Links for students. Okay. You can find this. This is a how-to, the onboard if you haven't done that yet. And then going back, endorsement pathways, comparison of academic course levels. There's a lot of information on this website, JRTC website. We would encourage you, parents and students, to check out this website and find out all things course selection for 2026.
Right. There's another question that says, can we get copies of the presentation? I saw that a couple of times. And yes, this will be, it's being recorded actually. And there will be a link that will keep that. Will we have that on our website, Ms. Seymour Gibson? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. It will be on the website
Okay, perfect.
under the helpful videos and links.
This is Dr. Valenzuela again from the Reese Center, and I did see a question about when students would find out when they were accepted, whether it would be within the course selection window or whether they would need to select all Clements High School courses. And so, yes, the student would need to select Clements High School courses. Once the student is accepted, there is a process. The student would be accepted and then would commit, basically accepting their spot at Reese. And then I would go in and make any necessary changes, or I would also collaborate with the Clements High School counselors. So it would be very important for your student to go ahead and let the counselors know what courses they would want to drop if they were accepted to Reese. And I'll leave that up to you all. It sounds like that would probably be on the JOT form that you all mentioned earlier. Is that where you would want that information, counselors?
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly where we want it. I saw a question about ranking and oh, there it is. When are ranks coming out? So really, we're no longer a ranking district, but we do provide your students' rank in the class via a letter, which is uploaded into Skyward. The district registrar and the campus registrars are solidifying those ranks as we speak, and they should be out pretty soon. I just do not have a date for you. Okay. Any prereqs for on-ramps? It depends on the course. Please utilize the course selection guide. Mrs. Seymour Gibson just showed you how to get there to read the course description, and each course will have, if there are prereqs for the course, they'll be right there under the description of the course. Unless you're meaning prereqs as in testing or anything like that, no. There's no testing to get into an on-ramps class.
Okay, so I see some questions about summer school. So the summer school information over the last couple of years it's been available after spring break. So what you can do, the quickest way would be come to our website and we'll have a link for it, or you can Google summer school Fort Bend ISD. There are a lot of moving parts with summer school. So that website will be able to clear it up and let you know the courses that will be available through Fort Bend and our partnering courses, external providers through UT High School or Texas Tech. Now, if your student is trying to take speech or health and they're like a freshman or sophomore, we would recommend when you're doing the schooling's pathway, throw that in the senior year. If you're trying to go ahead and do that, like if you're a freshman, you don't have to take that course in the 10th grade or 11th grade. Like speech and health are not grade specific courses. Government and economics online are grade specific courses. So those are limited to students who will become seniors at the end of May of 2025. So only those rising seniors will be able to take economics and government.
Okay. I see a question. Is there a limitation on the number of classes students can take in summer from HCC or UT online, etc.? Yes, you can only earn 1 credit over the summer. If you're taking that credit with UT or Texas Tech, then you only have an opportunity to earn 2 credits throughout their academic career. So no more than 2 credits throughout their academic career, but only 1 credit can be earned in the summertime. Now with HCC, you have the opportunity to earn 1 credit along with a class that you're taking maybe at UT or Texas Tech or with Fort Bend ISD. But you can only earn 1 credit in the summer with with UT or Texas Tech.
I do
One of
see a few GT questions. I just wanted to
Okay.
answer. One was, does it need, for a GT student, does it need to be AAC or UT on ramps class? I'm thinking the question is, does it need to be AAC or can a UT on ramps class be taken? Yes, a UT on ramps class can be taken. That is counted as a higher level course. Also, if a student is GT and takes AP course but isn't doing well, will they get dropped to AAC level or on level? They will be dropped to an on level class. So they will go from AP to on level, AAC to on level.
We've had a few more questions about on-ramps, which is wonderful because it is a wonderful, wonderful program that we are building on our campus. This time last year, we only had US history, and now we have some more courses. So we actually will have like the courses that we have in the course selection guide that are in the presentation we are planning to offer on our campus. Those classes are going to be driven by student request though, so definitely make sure they put those in. I cannot imagine that some of our more common courses, such as pre-calc, I don't know if pre-cal was on that list, I think it was, or physics wouldn't make. But if for some reason, the question I'm getting, and someone else jump in if I'm getting this wrong, would the student get placed in regular classes or AP classes if an on-ramps class does not make? We would put them in advanced placement. Is that correct?
So yeah, I can. So what will
Yeah.
happen? So parents, so course requests and teacher availability drive which courses we can offer as a campus. And so any course that more or less may not make, you would get a direct email from one of us saying before the parent verification. That's why we have a parent verification window. That's where there's a 2-week window between course selection and parent verification. Within that 2-week window, we'll have an idea of which courses will and will not make based off course selection, and we will let you know of which new courses your student has been placed in. And yes, if it was an on-ramps course, something to that effect, it will be an AP level course your student would be moved to.
And we've also had some questions regarding on-ramps about like how the class is arranged. So they are actually assigned a teacher on our campus. It is not just a virtual class that they take through the University of Texas. It is a blended model. And we have, I mean, different classes function generally in different ways, but there is a classroom teacher. They have a component, they actually receive a lot of training through the University of Texas, but then they also have an online component as well. So I think to answer that question and also some of the questions about like, should my kid take on ramps or advanced placement? I would say that on ramps, there is a component where students are going to have to be diligent in their studies. Not that they don't have to be an AP, but in advanced placement, it is a regular classroom model where you have a teacher teaching, they do quizzes, outlines, etc. There's reading. With the on-ramps class, there is a component where the student is going to have to do the online work on their own. And so I'm just history oriented, so I'm going to pick on US history. They do a lot of readings in their own time. They have to self-drive a little bit. So they're not always going to have the teacher teaching directly to them at all times in this class. The teacher does teach, but there is a component where the students are going to have to do some things online on their own. So I would say that if your student did not do super well with like the COVID model where they were learning online, that would be a conversation to have with your child, just because there is that component to that. So that may help with figuring out whether a student should take advanced placement or on ramps. But I will say, I think either way, your student is getting a quality education and learning, really wonderful information. It's just the learning style, I think, that is going to be something you take into consideration.
While we're on the on-ramps, I see 5 more questions. So, if you guys could explain, the question was, would my ninth grader be better suited in on-ramps biology instead of AAC biology? So, Mr. Warren, if you can kind of tell them the difference.
Yeah, I answered that one
Oh, okay.
to the parent directly, but yeah, so the on-ramps biology is not the equivalent to like what we think of as ninth grade biology. It's like bio AAC or on-level bio. It's more comparative. It would crosswalk. We're using the term crosswalk. So all these on-ramps courses, we call them on-ramps on the student's transcript. So because it's a dual enrollment, so they're going to have a UT transcript and an FBISD transcript. That's why these courses are unique. So they'll get their UT grade, but on their FORP and ISD transcript, it will have the course code for a FORP and ISD course. And so when we use the term crosswalk, if you come to the virtual hours, the councils may use the term crosswalk. These on-ramps courses crosswalk to a FORP and ISD course. So the on-ramps biology, it's crosswalk, right? The FORP course it's related to is AP biology. Chemistry 1 on-ramps, it's crosswalk, its FORP and ISD course is Chem or Chem AAC, right? So there's difference in US history. Its crosswalk is US history. And so in the course selection guide, it details exactly what the crosswalked course is. So if you can meet the Fort Bend ISD requirement, that's how we kind of determine what goes on the transcript and what the courses are available to our students.
And
And I just
another
want to,
on-ramps
yeah, I just wanted to
is
piggyback, sorry,
Mhm.
on what Ms. Drake was sharing about what kind of student. So on-ramp students need to be very self-driven. There's not a lot of external stimuli from the teacher. There is a teacher, so it's all in class at Clements High School, part of their 7-day schedule. But a lot of the enrichment and the UT side of things is after school hours. So outside of the 7:30 to 2:45 window. Students do a lot of their authentic learning that way. They do the inquiry-based learning. They apply their learning with the Fort Bend ISD teacher to prove their competence. And so it's a blended model. Some call it a flipped classroom, even though that's not a super accurate description of it, because there's a lot of direct instruction still within the on-ramps classroom, but it is not College Board curriculum. It is tied to the TEKS at a college level. So the rigor is still there. It just takes a lot more of student self-driven learning with the on-ramps courses versus the AP style class.
And while you're on the on-ramps, I see about 4 questions asking the what is the on-ramps courses giving any extra GPA weighting points? So I'm guessing they're asking what's the weighted points for on-ramps.
So on-ramps, I know Ms. Branch talked about weighted GPA earlier in this presentation when it comes to Fort Bend ISD and how that works. So on-level courses, whatever the grade is, that's the grade. AAC courses is a 5-point bump. So if your student is going to choose AAC, it's 5 points. And then if your student chooses AP, dual credit, or on-ramps, it is a 10-point bump to the GPA scale.
And with another on-ramps, can the students take chemistry on-ramp first, then AP chemistry?
So there's two offerings of on-ramps chemistry, Chem 1 and Chem 2. So I would say research which course is in the crosswalk for that. So Chem 1 is related to the Chem AAC class that a lot of our students would take sophomore year, and Chem 2 would be related to that AP Chem class that many of our students take junior year. And so there is a way to, but every student has a unique situation and where they're at in their science prerequisite journey.
Okay, so there was a question. So that means it is more beneficial to take on-ramps chemistry so you can earn 10 points versus 5 points in AAC chemistry. That is if you're trying to maximize your GPA. So with that particular question, again, it really depends on how your child does in various settings. Because if I were to tell you yes, but then, perhaps your student isn't the best at being self-driven, they don't do the online coursework like they're supposed to, and like that style of learning doesn't work for them, then it won't be beneficial for them to do on-ramps, even with the 10-point bump. And that's really across the board with like AAC and AP versus on level. Like these are the kinds of conversations to have with your child, just because um, we know about the GPA boost and everything, but that can only go so far. And if we have kids bombing, making 60s in a class, hopefully that would not happen. But that 10-point bump does not change their grade and it doesn't help them GPA wise. So I really can't say that it's more beneficial to take on-ramps chemistry based off of the GPA. I think more so it's which learning style is going to work best for you. And I know that we've got a chemistry teacher, Katie White, who will be happy to answer any questions that you have about that specific class and just like what the style of learning is in that one. But maximizing your GPA, I would not recommend choosing classes just based off that alone, because ultimately you have to do well in the class for it to benefit your GPA.
Okay, so I see some questions about cost for summer school. Yes, summer school, you will have to pay for those courses. And the summer school website is typically out around spring break. I put it in the chat, but you can just Google summer Fort Bend ISD, and the cost will depend on if you're taking it with Fort Bend ISD. There is a special rate for free or reduced lunch. If you're taking it with our external providers, such as UT or Texas Tech, those classes can typically be between 200 to 250 per course, but you will have to pay for those courses.
Okay, quickly, we just want to talk about the enrichment activities. That is the question, what are the enrichment activities available through CHS? We do know we kind of touched on electives, but remember this presentation will be available so you can go back through and really read through and see what your child's interests are, as well as when you go in school links and you get ready to build that 4-year plan. If you choose a select a certain area, that's going to populate your other 4, but you as well want to make sure that your child, what we call the completers, if they started an endorsement, try your best to get them to go ahead and do the entire 4 years so they can complete their endorsement. Anything else with that, Dr. Brown?
No, I am just addressing some of these in writing. Yeah, but that's perfect. I think I did address that one to say we don't have academies.
Saman, Mr. or Miss Saman, do you mind rewriting your question? It might have gotten buried in all of the questions we've received so far. I apologize.
Okay, and like I see a question about how do we know which classes have changed to be available until my student graduation before making these decisions. So, like Mr. Warren said, we start building the master course right now. And like Dr. Brown said, we have allocations based on students' requests. So that's why it's very essential to put alternates. So say if a student is considering a law program, then for their alternates, they can pick like debate, or some students even like to pick um, well, professional communication is a graduation requirement, but we will not know which courses are guaranteed until the end of the master's scheduling. But please make sure you do select the 3 alternates. That way we can give them 3 different options. And with the alternates, you can rank which one. So if a student really wanted to do business, and they weren't able to get in that, then they might want to say, okay, I'll do my graduation requirement, speech and health. You can rank those alternates.
I have one here. I started writing and then I changed my mind. Can we change an endorsement? Yes, you can change your endorsement. However, it's possible you won't finish, you won't be a completer, or you won't finish the endorsement because it's built to take your there's a class for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. And most times the 9th grade class is a prerequisite for the 10th grade, which is a prerequisite for the 11th grade. So it's very likely if you change your endorsement, you won't be a completer, which is why I think it was Mrs. Branch that talked about getting that 4th that 4th social studies. So if your student gets in in an endorsement and decides he just doesn't like it, he doesn't want to do it anymore, we can always place them in a multidisciplinary studies endorsement, but they would have to have 4 social studies. That's why we encourage the students to have 4 social studies just in case we get to a place like that. I tried to answer as many questions as I could.
And we had a couple of other questions about endorsements. One was, can you graduate with a STEM endorsement if you take a certain number of science and math courses? Yes. For a STEM endorsement, your child is required to take physics and algebra 2, and then they would take 5 math courses and or science courses. just have if your child is interested in pursuing that STEM endorsement, they can look at what the requirements are, and talk to their counselor about that as well. But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and answer that question just because that one it's just a fifth math or science course, but algebra 2 and physics are required for that endorsement.
All right, we have about 1 minute left before we all get cut off. Please, 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 if you didn't get a chance to ask your question or your question didn't get answered, please join us for our office hours, our parent office hours, and I'm trying to share my screen again. Old lady in technology, I'm sorry. There we go. So I did see a question in the chat where someone said they were having a hard time once the link. So we can do that. We'll probably just have the link sent out as well as the QR code. All right, just a reminder that course selection opens on Monday. We'll be in your students' classroom next week, helping them navigate this process. Students have until the 14th to get their course requests in, and then parents, you come back March 3rd through the 7th, and you do the course verification in Skyward. School link course selections is going to be done in School Links, and then it'll roll over to Skyward for you to do your verification. And March the 7th is the absolute deadline. It's a hard deadline. We're not going to be able to make any changes to the course selection after March the 7th. Mr. Warren, anybody, counselors, y'all have anything to say before we say goodnight?
I just want to say I hope you enjoyed this more virtual setting. We're able to answer more questions this way and field more questions rather than in person. And I truly thankful with Fort Bend just opening today, how many of y'all were able to join. And I hope you enjoyed the storm of the century, truthfully, with the amount of snow we got for South Texas.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and you guys go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.